Hello, hello. Welcome to the Commander's Compendium. I am your host, Daniel Moody, and I am here to guide you through the world of Commander as we know it. Now, as you can see, I've got YouTube pulled up. I've been doing a lot of research to get prepared for this episode, my first episode on YouTube. I've really put a lot of effort into researching what you guys want out of Commander. Probably about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. But as I said, a lot of research, and as you can see, I've got a lot of videos pulled up here. I just typed in MTG into the YouTube search bar, and yeah, I've got these videos pulled up. I looked at the titles, I looked at the thumbnail. I didn't actually watch any for research purposes. I just don't have that kind of time. But as you can see, I think we need some top 10 videos. I think that's what Magic needs. I don't see it here, do you? So let's go ahead and take a look at top 10 videos. I don't think anybody's really made any top 10 videos, so I think it's safe to say that we can kind of search for that real quick. All right, 408,000 results. That's a lot of top 10 videos. So I guess I can't do a top 10 video if I want to be original. So let's try top 5, half a 10. I think that's a good number. All right, 410,000. Why are there so many top 5? Who wants to see top 5 when you have top 10? That's twice as many. All right, I'm just going to go up one and go to top 6. Let's take a look at top 6 videos. There can't be that many, right? 200,000? Who's making these videos? Who's making these videos? Well, you know what? I'm making a top 6 video. I don't care. Okay, so we're definitely doing a top 6 video. It's fine, top 6. What we need now is a good, short, snappy, bite-sized name for an episode. So let's take a look. Why is the episode name so long? Who named it that? Who named it that? Oh, oh yeah, I did. I named it that. Okay. So we're going to start with white as our first color. Now, white is almost universally agreed upon as the worst color in Commander. And while I don't disagree with that, what I do disagree with is how bad it is. I think people vastly overrate how bad white is. Sure, it doesn't have card advantage engines, and a lot of the in-game threats the other colors have, and the potential to get to those in-game threats as quickly as a color like black or green. But what white trades those abilities for its political advantage and board control. I think white can really play a multiplayer table really well by controlling the board, doing favors for players, which, hey, I understand. Some people don't want to win that way, but white can take advantage of that, and it needs to play to its strengths. So my two picks for white today, for hidden gems for the color, I think really lend to that. That is board control and political advantage. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first pick. So our first hidden gem is Serenity. It's a 2-mana enchantment from Weatherlight, reprinted in 6th edition, that reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. Now, of course, that includes itself. Serenity is powerful at 2 mana because you can blow up a lot of those early artifacts and enchantments that cause a lot of trouble in Commander. Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Exploration, Burgeoning, Phyrexian Arena, Sylvan Library, Rhystic Study. The list goes on and on. And at 2 mana, it's so cheap. You're not guaranteed the effect, mind you, because you have to make it through a turn cycle. And Serenity shares that trait with our next hidden gem for white, but I think it's worth running just on cost. Planar Collapse is yet another 2 mana enchantment that waits a turn cycle to blow up. It's 2 mana, originally printed in Urza's Legacy. It reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more creatures on the battlefield, sacrifice Planar Collapse and destroy all creatures. They cannot be regenerated. So, like Serenity, after a turn cycle, this card destroys all of a certain permanent, in this case creatures, which is a little more valuable in Commander. But unlike Serenity, there has to be a certain number of those permanents in play, in this case 4. So if there's 4 creatures on the battlefield, it'll activate on your upkeep and destroy everything. The thing I like about both of these enchantments is that at 2 mana, they're so low cost that you don't really lose a lot of opportunity by playing them. You just drop them on the board typically early in the game. It could dictate the pace that your opponents play at. Maybe with planar collapse out, your opponent doesn't want to drop their valuable commander or other 3 or 4 mana creature, you know, and it could just dictate their play style. Same thing with Serenity. You drop it, the turn cycles through, players might not drop artifacts and enchantments they want to play. In addition to that, I think it's important that you do not think of these cards as board wipes. That's a bonus. When you drop Serenity or Planar Collapse, don't expect it to make it all the way through. Players are going to want to blow these up so they don't lose permanents that are valuable to them. Instead, see these as kind of a control card. You can use it as a bargaining tool, and I think that's something interesting about white. So let's go ahead and talk about what cards you would run with Serenity and Planar Collapse. First of all, you want Recursion. Auramancer, Sun Titan, Ameria Shepherd, and Hannah, Ship's Navigator. These are all powerful cards that you could use to recur the enchantments to blow up the board turn after turn. Hannah you can even run as your commander. Enlightened Tutor and Idyllic Tutor will allow you to search your library and find the enchantments to use them for the perfect opportunity. And Faith's Reward and Boros Charm will allow you to save your own permanents while also bringing back the enchantments in case you want to reuse the effect again for death triggers, but also if you can destroy the enchantment, even better. Blue obviously doesn't have the same weaknesses as white and Commander, such as card draw. So let's go ahead and take a look at my pick for blue hidden gem in Commander. Immediately when you see Statecraft, a 4-mana blue enchantment that reads prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by creatures you control, I know you say to yourself, wow, this is the most powerful magic card I've ever seen. Except you don't say that, because it's not the most powerful magic card you've ever seen, and I don't want to pretend that it's the most powerful magic card you've ever seen. Instead, when you see Statecraft, I want you to look at a card that really opens up the door to a lot of political possibilities, especially a color like blue that doesn't typically win in combat damage. Statecraft allows you to defend yourself against a lot of those giant threats that players are playing in Commander. And it's really useful in decks that can generate a lot of tokens to block for itself, or creatures that are generally so small but you need to keep on the battlefield, especially with activated abilities so you can activate them right before your turn starts again. Let's talk about some cards that go well with Statecraft. As far as commanders, Azami, Phoenix, and Drawnu, all three usually win in ways that isn't combat damage related. And Statecraft can help protect your small creatures, especially in Azami or Drawnu, that otherwise would take damage, and you don't want that to happen. Zedru, of course you can donate Statecraft to your opponent and watch as they can never successfully deal combat damage. This is great against black and red decks, for instance. Of course, Donate you can run alongside Zedru, Disenchant to remove Statecraft if you need, and finally Propaganda and Dulcet Sirens create some interesting combat scenarios for your opponents. Black is just one of my favorite colors to play in Magic and in Commander. I love it. I love the themes, the darkness, the sacrificial effects, the synergy with other colors. I really think black is just a lot of fun to play. And it has a lot of the most interesting cards, especially if you dig deep into Magic's history. You can really build decks around a lot of these old cards. So let's go ahead and take a look at my pick for Hidden Gem for black. Now, I've personally never seen anyone cast Extinction in a game of Commander, except for myself. I think people know about this card, especially if you've been playing for a long time. It used to be a very valuable card, but I just don't think it sees the play it should anymore. Now, granted, it's a little expensive, and people aren't always running tribal decks, but I don't think that's the purpose of this card. I don't think you should view it as a sweeper. Instead, I think you should view it as a single target removal spell, or spot removal as we call it. Just accept the fact that you're usually going to kill one creature with this card, and sometimes you get the upside of killing 2, 3, maybe even 4 creatures. And if you're playing against a tribal deck, well, you've got Just think about all the creature types in Magic and how few are played in Commander. You see a lot of popular ones like Human, Shaman, Wizard, Angel, Demon, Dragon, Elemental, just to name a few. Sometimes there's just 2 or 3 or even 4 or 5 creatures that share the same creature type on the battlefield. And occasionally, you'll just get that sweet, sweet value when you're playing against Rise the Redeemed and you just blow up all his elves. What a good feel. So what cards should you run with Extinction? Well, honestly, Extinction doesn't need a lot of support. You can just throw it in a black deck. But you could run it with blue or white. You get access to cards like Unnatural Selection that allow you to change the creature type of a creature on the battlefield. Extinction, in a deck that cares about creature types, of course you could force your opponent to change different creature types and then destroy all those creatures. Same thing with Shields of Veil. Change all your opponent's creatures into, I don't know, oozes, and then destroy them all. Red is another color that people consider weak in Commander, but I do think it's a great deal better than white. And my hidden gem for red kind of, I think, outlines that. Shivan Harvest is a 2-mana enchantment originally printed in Invasion. Has the ability 2 mana, sacrifice a creature, destroy target non-basic land. Now look, this is going to depend a lot on your play group. What does your play group enjoy? Do they understand the fact that sometimes lands just need to be destroyed? Yes, you can use this card maliciously to destroy all of your opponent's lands. In a 5-color, 4-color deck, this can severely cripple them. You can also go after their single-color mana sources. And while that might be a legitimate strategy in some playgroups, it doesn't work in others. Where I think Shivan Harvest is more fair is when you're focusing it on lands like Maze of Ith, Cabal Coffers, Gaia's Cradle, Academy Runes. Lands that generate a lot of value, whether it's mana or resource advantage, card draw. Shivan Harvest can help neutralize those threats. Of course, in order to neutralize those lands, you need to have creatures to sacrifice. So red really pairs well with white for token generation, but especially green and black for the sacrificial creatures and the effects that you can gain. Let's take a look at some picks. Prosh is a great commander with Shivan Harvest because he comes into the battlefield on first cast with 7 bodies. Obviously, that allows a lot of benefit for sacrifice effects like Shivan Harvest. Sekuar, Kresh really care about creatures dying, while Kiki-Jiki and Feldon are generating tokens that are going to die in a turn anyway. Krenko and Grave Titan both generate a lot of tokens when attacking or entering the battlefield in Grave Titan's case, and you really want to have some uses for those creatures. Finally, Dictate of Erebos, Grave Pact, Blood Artist, and Vicious Shadows give you some benefit for sacrificing creatures, while Cauldron of Souls will slowly accrue you a lot of value in a game, especially with sacrifice outlets like Shivan Harvest. Okay, on to our last color, green. Hope you guys like listening to me ramble, because I have been. Our card for green is Skull Clamp. I mean, I know a lot of you guys have never heard of this card. Skull Clamp is very underrated. It's a hidden gem. It's powerful, but you know, I don't think enough people know about it. It does this little thing called card draw, so I think you guys might be interested. Like I said, it's an underpowered card. Wrong! No, that is not our card. Our card we're going to be talking about today is a little 1-mana green enchantment called Bequeathal. Bequeathal is 1 mana for an enchant creature. Now, of course, now that means enchantment or an enchant creature. When enchanted creature dies, draw 2 cards. A couple things about Bequeathal. Yes, I know I made the obvious comparison to Skull Clamp. When the creature dies, you draw 2 cards. But the comparison is worthy. We know how strong Skull Clamp is. A lot of that is because the effect is repeatable. But even one use of Skull Clamp, and in this case Bequeathal, is a strong effect. Now sure, you don't get the ability to kill your creature outright like Skull Clamp does on Bequeathal, but you're going to have a lot of ways in green-black decks to sacrifice your own creatures. You could also put this on your opponent's creatures. That might change the way they attack or block with that creature, and eventually a board wipe will happen, giving you some value. Finally, you can always recur the enchantment to get additional card draw. Now there's something I should mention here. I advocate all kinds of commander play, competitive, casual, in between. No matter what type of commander you play, you need to play with a good mana curve. You want cheap cards in your mana curve all the way up to expensive cards. But primarily, your deck should include 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana cards. Bequeathal is a 1 mana draw spell. It is conditional, but at 1 mana, it's so easy to fit into your curve and drop on a low cost creature. Let's go ahead and take a look at some examples of some creatures that you can include that work so well with Bequeathal. Now, obviously, you want to run cheap creatures with their own ability to sacrifice themselves with Bequeathal. You get the most value that way. Cards like Caustic Caterpillar, Spore Frog, Secure Tribe Elder, and Yavimaya Elder have the ability to sacrifice themselves. They're great in a lot of green decks. In fact, I'd probably advocate running all 4 of these cards in most green creature decks, and Bequeathal works wonderfully with them. Marin of Clan Neltoth and Gaveguri of Spores are usually sacrifice-centered decks. Of course you want to run Bequeathal in there. And finally, how can I not mention my favorite Magic card, probably of all time. I mean, look at this card, Birthing Pod. It's wonderful. Rest in peace, Modern. Well, that about does it for me, guys. This is my first video. I really hope you enjoyed my rambling. I know there's a lot of it. But if you could, please like and subscribe. It means a lot, especially to a new channel like me. I'm really glad that you guys were able to watch. I hope you enjoyed, like I said. And remember, guys, be good to one another. Thanks, and have a good day.